Yes, people, we are in party mode today. It's end of the season. Both our clubs are European champions. Wes, you're going to fire away with a song for us, aren't you?
Samina, mina, waka waka, 17th, and I don't know how. We won it in Bilbao, Sam.
Oh, what a feeling, man. What a feeling. I was going to say, we'll say how we are, but I think we already know what the feeling is in the room. But Wes, great to have you back for this award show tonight. How are you?
Oh, I am on cloud nine still, and what a day to do it on because it is obviously the 1 week anniversary of Spurs being champions of Europe, as well. Don't laugh, Nelson. West Ham was singing it after winning the Conference League, mate. Come on. So yeah, no, absolutely buzzing with it. And yeah, it's just a nice feeling, like not only to sort of say that we finally got that trophy hoodoo off our backs, but I think the fact it's a European trophy as well, I think has just made it that little bit extra special. And I think it's a competition that I think this year probably more so in particular has had a little bit more kind of respect, I would say, from a lot of different people in the sense that it's not looked like down upon as a Mickey Mouse kind of cup or trophy, like some other teams in London are potentially, competing in or whatever. So yeah, I think it's just a great feeling, to be honest.
It is 100%. Now, Nelson, I was hoping that your team in North London wouldn't be able to do something, but luckily for you tonight, obviously in the week, the women won their game as well. So, how are you feeling?
I'm just like how everyone else feeling. I think North London's feeling quite good right now, and I think that's good for North London, but obviously us being rivals and us not wanting each other to win is part of the game. And for me, I think it's bigger than just Arsenal winning. I think Wes will know, and just like the growth of women's football like 10 years ago compared to now, just having this reaction to a women's team winning the Champions League from England, it means a lot. And seeing the reactions from other rival fans or other clubs from the women's league has been really nice. I think it's different to the men's game. I think the men's game, there's all that, banter back and forth between all the clubs. But the women's team, I think the women's leagues have been really kind and like, congratulating us. And it's just been a great feeling. So yeah, Holly, I still can't believe it, but feels good, feels good.
No, I'm glad we're all in high spirits tonight. I'm not in disguise and I'm not in a hangover. I was just feeling in my party mode
You
tonight.
100% are in party mood, and you 100% are still hungover, Holly. Don't even try it.
Potentially. But like we always say, all season this show, should I say, has been sponsored by the amazing Kofa. So Wes, I'm gonna let you fire away, do your thing. There you go, people. Go check out Kofa. Make sure you do that. Like we say, we've already kind of spoken a little bit about Spurs and Arsenal in our kind of cup games, but you know what? We're going to milk it a bit more. So, Wes, obviously, we know how you're feeling. I think we all are how we're feeling at the moment, but it's just the scenes, the good feel factor around the club. I'm just over the moon.
Oh, listen, I didn't go to Bilbao, unfortunately. I was about 50-55 loyalty points out. So between myself, my dad, my mum and my auntie, we decided to go to the live screening at the ground. We got in nice and early. We got in at around 6 o'clock from when the ground opened. By 6:30, it was absolutely bouncing. I've never seen an atmosphere kind of like it. And yeah, obviously being in the ground, it was probably the second best place that I could probably be or think of being. If it wasn't, to be Bilbao. So yeah, I mean that it's not the most aesthetically pleasing goal on the eye, but no one cares. The game, I've had loads of people say to me it weren't great. I just say I don't care, because we've been on the wrong side of finals that haven't been great watches. And I was even thinking to myself, well, finals of recent years anyway haven't been great watches, really, like from a neutral perspective and that neutral point of view. So I feel like it's just standard that finals are actually a bit dull and a bit boring. But yeah, it's definitely kind of been, I want to say, sort of like the year of almost the underdog, or clubs and teams putting an end to trophy curses. I know obviously start of the season we were favourites to win the Europa League, but I think United probably going into that game were slight favourites just because of their form going into it and how bad ours was. But yeah, what a moment. What a fantastic night it was. I didn't go on the pitch. I wasn't quick enough to get on the pitch.
It's those
By
calves,
the
man.
It is. By the time I thought about going on the pitch, the aisle that was next to me was absolutely Sergio Ramos, so I had absolutely no chance of getting in there. But no, obviously, what a moment, and to share it with like my dad, who we've been through a lot together as Spurs fans. He was like, right, I've had 30 odd years of this pain. I'm going to inflict it on you for the rest of your life. So to kind of have that moment was really special. And I think now I kind of get it and I understand it when people say about that feeling of winning. I never really sort of understood it necessarily before because we hadn't had it. Now I fully get it and I fully understand what that moment means. I think it's not so much of how long it was just that feeling of we've done something special here. And that is something I think that will stay with me for a very, very long time.
100%. Obviously, I didn't get a chance to go to Bilbao and I couldn't come up to the stadium, but I was there for the parade and it was just incredible scenes, all of us coming together. I'd like to say, I don't want this winning feeling to disappear. I want it to continue. But Nelson, obviously, the other side of North London, the girls have done it for you as well. And obviously, I saw the scenes of their parade too. It's just a great feeling at the moment. What did you kind of make of the final?
I'd like to first point out, like, because you guys know me, like, I am not one of them Arsenal fans, but I did congratulate you guys on winning. Because if I'm being honest, looking at how the club has evolved since Pochettino's left, it's been a long time coming for a trophy. I thought the Pochettino era probably deserved the trophy, probably the best era out of the lot. And then I think the one that probably missed you guys was probably the unfortunate sack, and we know what happened to Jose just before the final. I thought that was going to be your moment where you guys finally broke the curse and then would finally go on to have that trophy. But as Wes says, it's just nice for as a club, to have that winning feeling. The players now have the feeling of winning. And depending on what, the chairman does and what the board does moving forward, you can only go on up from here. There's going to be probably big expectations moving forward now that he's brought home that elusive trophy. So big props to Ange. Me, I actually like Ange. I think Ange is a good guy. So and I'd like to point out that he is probably one of the few guys in the world that can drop bars from the start of the season and then go on to make another bar for next season, and how season 3 is better than season 2. And he's actually right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, as a fan, I should be quite fearful if it goes right. If Levy can get it right and the investment is right, then bloody hell, like, you guys are on the up again. So I think it's good for football just to have that competitiveness. So I just want to point that out first. But yes, you talked about the women's, and just like Wes said, when he went to go watch the live screening, I went to the Emirates to watch the live screening. I went with my girlfriend. I went with I call them my sisters, but my girlfriend's younger sisters, and our friends and family. And it was just really nice to go and watch it. And I remember holding hands with my girlfriend's younger sister and how she was really nervous, like as the final whistle was about to blow. I'll be honest, I walked into that game saying, bloody hell, we have no chance, because it's Barcelona, like the best team in the game, in the history of the women's game. And they're still growing and evolving. But the way in which we played that game, Renee Slagers, I have to tip my hat off. I was her biggest fan. And yes, Big Albert in the building.
Me,
Slagers
Uncle.
ball, Renaissance, Uncle Albert's here. Yeah, I'm so happy for Renee. She deserves it more than anyone. I was one that wanted Jonas out. He was out, and I felt like the club needed to move forward. and actually bring a female in charge. And they did that with Renee. And I think the players just have that huge respect for her. And I think they just play for her, the passion. Like they play for the club, but they also play for her. And you can see it on the pitch. And the way in which we were really physical to Barcelona really surprised me in the first half. I think it kind of shocked them. And then I think the halftime team talk changed things, and I mean, like you guys, United were favourites, Barca were favourites in our game, but it's the year of the underdog, as Wes mentioned, and it's just amazing to have that feeling. And yeah, I lost my voice throughout the night. I partied hard. Was on the chair. Security tried to kick me out. I was like, bloody hell, we've won. Like, we're champions of Europe. Like Chelsea women's will never sing that. So. Lucy Bronze, I'd like to point this out to Lucy Bronze. She's never going to watch this, but Lucy Bronze said she wanted to come to England to win the Champions League in England. But hey, she's lost out, so it is what it is. But Holly, great feeling.
But listen, mate, season 3 is always better than season 2. So
I know, but it's just a great feeling, Holly, and even the parade as well itself. Just seeing the turnout for a women's team was sensational. Even though Arsenal have been at the forefront of pushing women's football forward, like just seeing that just for the women's game was amazing. So I'll conclude on that. It was an amazing feeling, and yeah, they'll be buzzing for the whole summer.
Yeah, defo. And like you say, it's a great thing for women's football. And it does mean all of us are happy on the show at the end of the season. But we won't talk about club awards anymore. We're going to talk about our individual awards. And obviously, we're going to start with either side of North London, and then we'll go into things a bit more in generic in Premier League. So, Wes, I'm going to hit you with the first one. It's a big one. Player of the year for Tottenham.
I'm not going to go with recency bias. I think probably for me, over the course of the season, if someone could right now play a bit of ABBA, that would be great, because I feel like there's a certain ginger from Sweden who has probably been consistently our best player, I think, this year. I know he's had a couple of injuries. I mean, every Spurs player's had an injury this year. I think the only one that really hasn't is probably Ange himself, but then he probably tweaked a hamstring in a press conference. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Decky. I'm gonna go with Kulusevski. I think we've seen a huge change in him as well this year. He's become the player that I think we all thought he could be. He now takes games by the scruff of the neck and can be a difference maker, which I think we all thought he could be, but now he's started to show it on a consistent basis. So yeah, I think for me, Decky, Dejan Kulusevski, some ginger from Sweden.
Great show.
Stuff. Good one. And for you, Nelson, for Arsenal, who is your player of the year?
I love Kulu, by the way. I just want to point that out. Like, Kulu is a great player. Like, apart from Son, who Wes knows my love affair with, Kulu might be next on the cards. But my player of the season, I'm going to be nice and short and sweet. It was between 3. I had David Raya or Gabriel and also Declan Rice. But I'm going to award it to Declan Rice. I think he's been our player of the season. I think he's been fantastic. I think had Gabriel had stayed and wasn't obviously injured, I think he probably would have pipped it for me, because I think out of the 2 defenders we have, Saliba is the better defender in terms of ability to defend. But I think the way Gabriel marshals that defense is world class, and I think that's what separates them. And I think Saliba still needs to learn a thing or two, even though people think he's probably better than Gabriel. But Declan Rice, I think the reason why Declan Rice gets it is the consistency in which he's brought since he's been at the club, and his technicality and his technique has just continued to get better every season. Had I known he had 2 world-class free kicks in his locker, I would have bought him 5 years ago, because that night at Real Madrid, at the Emirates against Real Madrid, I think no Arsenal fan's ever going to forget. I think it was hard for a hate watch, but I think you could also appreciate the techers to whip those 2 free kicks in the corners. And this season he's always just done 8 out of 10s, and I think he's grown as a leader. A lot of people have called whether or not Odegaard should continue to be Arsenal captain, but I think Rice has grown as a leader. So he's my player of the season, Holly. I'll give it to him.
I was going to say, it was so annoying when I watched that in the pub, because we were like, oh, he's never going to score from there. Then he does it once, and you say it again, he does it twice, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to shut up from now. But no, that's a fair shout, Nelson. I can kind of hold my hands up and say fair play to Declan Rice. But Wes, we're going to move on to young player of the year. Now, I think there's a few for Spurs, so good luck.
This is good.
For me, There's probably two, and it's a toss of a coin. But I'm going to give it to this particular player just because I think his ceiling is probably higher than the other one. So the two in contention will take more care of you, Archie Gray, who I actually saw in a lovely, lovely car at the coming out to Tottenham High Road after the game on Sunday, and the other one is Lucas Bergvall. Archie Gray, everybody knows me knows how much of a fan I was of Archie Gray. But Lucas Bergvall, who is going to get my player of the year, this kid is a joke of a footballer. He is the Swedish Luka Modric, who incidentally I would love us to get back. Just one last dance. Luka, come back, mentor Lucas Bergvall, and we will feed generations, let me tell you. The turnaround as well, I think, in him, because he had a bit of a sticky start to the season. I think, we all remember the Galatasaray away game where he found it really, really difficult. I think since then he's turned from a boy into a man. And I genuinely think now when you look at the Tottenham team in terms of who should start, I think he's in there. And I think he's almost become undroppable because of his consistency within his performances. And to take to a new league, a new country, a new style of football so quickly. Phenomenal, phenomenal. So, yeah, listen, I love Archie Gray. Love Archie Gray. Like the fact that he played near enough. Well, he played half a season out of position, and it didn't look like he was playing out of position. Says a lot. But for me, Lucas Bergvall, it was getting to the point where you go, give him the ball and he will sort it out for us. At 19 years of age in the Premier League, that is scary. So, yeah, young player for me, Lucas Bergvall, the Swedish Luka Modric.
Good shout. Good shout. I think I would have said that as well. Because, like you say, he's just been unplayable at times. He's been unreal. And he's really developed himself, like you kind of said, Wes. But Nelson, your young player of the season for Arsenal.
Well, my choice, I think, is likely going to be, when we do the whole kind of general Prem thing, I think he kind of gets that too, in my opinion. It was between two. I had between Ethan Nwaneri, but I'm going to give it to Miles Lewis-Skelly. I think he has been sensational, a revelation at left back, considering that he plies his trade as a midfielder, as a centre mid, and he's come in and he's actually bossed it at 18 years of age. It's his attitude, the bravado, which a lot of people are hating on. We're talking about another young black man coming through the England ranks. He's actually smashed it, and I love his game. Like, he is very clever. I think a lot of people don't take that as a skill, but he's very clever, and his IQ is very good on the pitch, and his understanding of where to his positional play is just brilliant. His fearlessness is what carries the team, and I think the fact that we've struggled at left back to then have a kid come in who doesn't start at left back obviously reminds us of Bukayo Saka, but he's just come in and he's dealt with it so well. I am hoping in the future he moves into centre mid and we actually get a left back that can play there so he can flourish in midfield. But he's taken on, like, we're talking big games this season that he's actually been there, and we're talking like he looks like he's 36. So my young player goes to Miles Lewis-Skelly.
It's good because the fact that I know who that is as well kind of speaks volumes, as you guys know what I'm
Yeah.
like. So no, I had that. I had him in my head as well. But where's next one? We are rattling through these. I've got underrated player of the year for Spurs for this one.
For me, and this is me only, Wilson Odebear. So underrated, and I think obviously he was somebody that I championed for Spurs to sign in the summer. Maybe, just maybe, there might be a job for me out there somewhere, because this kid, and he is still a kid because he's still like not even 21 yet, but when I watch him play, I'm just so refreshed. But at the same time, I don't think he's done anything majorly like outstanding. I just think he's basically done what wingers used to do when we were all growing up, which was get the ball and go at somebody. But it's just refreshing to see that, because we don't have that now in modern day football. I love the fact he's able to go both ways. I think he, especially when he came back from his injury, then proved like what an asset he can be for Spurs moving forwards. So And I love the fact he can go left, he can go right, he can operate off the right and off the left as well, instead of just getting the ball and being able to go both ways. And I think he looks comfortable off of both flanks as well. So yeah, for me, it's my guy Wilson Odobert.
Lovely stuff. Good shout. And Nelson, for you, underrated player at Arsenal.
My underrated player, Holly, actually goes to Jakub Kivior. I think he is still underrated. A lot of Arsenal fans will think he's not quality to still be at the club, but for him to step in for Gabriel in that time when we needed him, I think speaks volumes of the quality that he actually has and how much Arteta had to put a lot of confidence and faith in him to perform at that stage. The fact that he helped us get through to the Real Madrid tie, and yeah, I think he's been sensational. So he's come in, he's slotted in perfectly. He's had a good relationship with Saliba, and I still think, unfortunately, the club might look to sell him. I don't know why, but looking at the squad depth this season, how we've struggled to replace players that have been injured, such as Kai Havertz and Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Jesus, I think keeping him would be a smart move. So he's my underrated player of the year, Holly. Short and sweet, Jakub Kivior.
Gosh. And this kind of moves us on to the flip of the coin, Wes, which is overrated player of the year. Now, I always hate this question because obviously after the high we've had, I don't want to put someone under the bus. But you know what? We're going to do it anyway. So who for you is your overrated player at Spurs?
This is going to sound really strange. I have two in mind. One of them is James Maddison, because for a player with such ability and such talk, I never think he backs it up, which is really strange considering how you would look at his European campaign for Spurs, and he was fairly crucial to that. The other one for me, and this is probably the one that I'm going to go with, obviously he's given every Spurs fan the best night of their life, is Brennan Johnson. Because name me another player in the league that has stat padded as much as Brennan Johnson this year. I will wait. And somebody said this to me when I was doing the Park Lane podcast a few weeks ago about Brennan Johnson. And it's like, yeah, but he scored 6 or 7, however, I think it's like 18 goals this year. Granted, and I'm not going to take that away from him. But at the same time, if you watch football with your eyes, you will understand that Brennan Johnson, as a footballer, isn't what we all thought and what we all hoped. Me, certainly. I was championing us to sign him from Nottingham Forest a couple of years ago. Thought he would have really fitted into what we're doing. He just has, whenever I'm not confident with him when he's on the ball, in the same way that I am when Wilson Odobert or Mateus Tell, for example, are on the ball, or Decky when he plays out wide. So I'm going to go with Brennan Johnson just because I think the fact of his stats say one thing, but like I say, when you watch football with your eyes and your eyes don't lie to you, it's a completely different player. Like I'm not going to go that far, but you're almost going Premier League Player of the Year shouts based off his stats, or at least Player of the Year kind of shouts. But if you actually watch him, like with your eyes, you'll realise that he's actually not that great. I mean, obviously, I know the football was irrelevant on Sunday, but I think Brennan Johnson was still hungover, bless him, on Sunday. The amount of alcohol he consumed, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Brennan. Had he not scored in Bilbao, I think it would have probably gone to James Maddison. To be honest, I think he's just a player that really frustrates me, Maddison. To be honest, but yeah, I'm gonna side with Brennan.
Wow, Wes. I was going to say it does make sense. I think the only problem is, like you say, Brennan Johnson is not the player I thought he would be, and I get it. Like comments coming in, like give him a bit more credit. He makes the runs and score. He does.
But in the words of Roy Keane, your eyes don't lie to you. You know what I mean? Your eyes don't lie to you. You know.
True.
No, I get you, and I think your reason is right. He's not your out and out winger or the player that we assumed he was going to be. Great, he gets on the end of things. You want that to score goals. But yeah, I think it is, like you say, it's just a very controversial one, like you said, because he scored in Bilbao, because he scored all those goals. It's a bit like Jesus, but no, it's Fez. It's Fez. But Nelson, let's see if yours is as controversial with your overrated player of the season for Arsenal.
I've been thinking long and hard about this whilst Wes was talking, and like not saying that I didn't listen to anything you said about Brennan Johnson, simply because I actually agree, and I thought it was going to be James Maddison. I'm gonna go with Gabriel Martinelli.
Ooh.
Gabriel Martinelli, and I'm saying it in an English way because he's meant to be Brazilian. I should say Martinelli, but he's just an Italian at this point. So, like half Italian, half Brazilian. Like the puchacha skills or the jinky majinky that I'm expecting on the left wing hasn't happened for the last 2 seasons. The season where we lost to City the first time around 22-23, even though he scored 15 league goals that season, you can actually see the work rate, the effort, and everything, and you could just tell he was on fire. But these last 2 seasons, I just think he's been quite passive. I think he's lost the aggressiveness that made him fearless when he burst onto the scene for Arsenal. I think first teenager scored like 10 goals in the season for Arsenal was like we just thought he would go on levels and levels. And Emery initially bought him as a striker, and he's been shifted out on the left. I'm not too sure whether or not bringing him back across the middle might change his career, but I think so far on the left, you expect that there's a lot that defenders expect to see from Martini, and they're not really afraid when fullbacks come against him. Like Ola Aina, one of the best fullbacks in the league, in my opinion, this season, mentioned how Bukayo is probably more scarier to face than Gabriel Martinelli, and I think it speaks volumes. Like, that's the reason I like Odegaard, Wilson Odegaard, just because he just takes people on. And I think Gabriel Martinelli sizes the defender up, but doesn't have an outcome or doesn't think of, oh, can I escape this? Whereas I think your tricky wingers, the ones that just love to beat your man, Jeremy Doku, that kind of style, they always have the plan A, but also can counter it. I just don't think Martinelli has it. So I think he's overrated. I think just play him down the middle, use his pace, and that's it. I think that's probably what he's good at. And it's quite disappointing for me to say that. And I hope Uncle Albert's watching, probably agrees with me. But that's my overrated player, Gabriel Martinelli.
Something about wingers tonight. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is. It's the winger theme. But no, yeah, you're right. I think, like you said, it depends how you kind of watch the game, what you expect. And like you said, from wingers, both those players aren't actually taking their man on, which is what you expect them to do, and they're not doing it. So that's a fair shout. But let's raise the bar up again, get all excited again. Let's talk about goal of the season for Spurs. Wes, go on, hit me with it.
I'm not going recency bias, but I remember vividly earlier on in the season, we went to Old Trafford and some Dutch geezer decided to have a little runabout and flashed one across a box for Brennan Johnson. So I'm probably going to go with that particular goal just because, yeah, Roadrunner, Mickey van der Ven just decided to have a little wander. So yeah, I'm going to go with that one. I was really struggling with that one because I don't feel like we've scored some like proper weldy goals this season. I'd probably say that one, and then maybe close second. A goal that's just come to mind is probably Basuma's against Everton, where he's just done an absolute whiz bomber. But yeah, I'd probably go with that Van der Ven, Johnson's goal, but made by Van der Ven. I'll go with that one.
I like it. We've mentioned Daddy Longlegs tonight. The show is
I like
all good.
I like that. That's a great mention. That run was sensational when I saw it live. Yeah, great shout.
Insane. Now, Nelson, I know you've already mentioned an incredible goal already tonight. Is it your goal of the season for Arsenal?
Yeah, I think my mind hasn't changed, Ollie. I think I don't know which one to pick, but I am going to lean towards the second one because it's on the keeper's side and he's still gone for that top bins. And I thought he was actually going to go over the wall as normal and just try put it, against the keeper. But he's gone the keeper's side and he's hit top bins. And I think the confidence to just do that again against Courtois, who I think is probably top goalkeeper in the world. Just impressive. So short and sweet. Declan Rice's second free kick against Real Madrid. Yeah, goal of the season.
Lovely stuff. I say I don't think we can beat that. But we're going to open the floor out. We're going to make it generic. We're going to go Premier League. And Nelson, I'm going to start with you this time. So, your player of the year. Now, I'm going to put a kind of little bit of a stipulation in it. Can't choose an Arsenal or Tottenham player. It's got to be someone else.
Okay. Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm gonna have to lean towards my guy. You've mentioned, his friend, Ginge. Oh my gosh. It's so easy to say Mohamed Salah just because of his stats and what he's produced for Liverpool this season. But yeah, Wes has got me there, and I'm gonna have to go for my guy Alexander Isak. Like, he's been absolutely sensational for Newcastle this season. I think last few weeks he's been injured, and I don't think Newcastle fans care. I mean, we've mentioned the year of the underdog so far on the podcast today, and I think for him to kind of seal that trophy against Liverpool, and if you watch that finish, it's not an easy finish. Like they've headed, I think I can't remember if it was Jacob Murphy who's headed it down for Isak, and it's just on the bounce, and he's caught it perfectly and placed it in the corner away from Allison. That's like so hard. I remember just sitting there with my boys and just seeing the goal. We were like, what? Like, it just blew us out of the water. And he scored some incredible goals this season. Just keeps getting better. Like, even though he lost out to Haaland the Golden Boot, I think he's close to doing 30 goals, which he hasn't done in his career so far. And I think he's just like, he's a different kind of striker. And I think Wes would agree with me to actually say, if you watch the game with your eyes, he's the best number 9 in the league. No one can tell me he's not the best number 9 in the league. Like, in terms of, you know, doing everything for as a number 9, don't get me wrong, you have to finish it off. And I think Haaland beats him in terms of just poaching. But everything else, I think even just assisting and creating goals, he just has that wonderful technical ability to avoid players and just evade them with ease and then set them up. Just has that cushioning touch, which is quite difficult for players to have. So, whereas you got me there, as soon as you started pointing, I was like, brother, don't stop. But yeah, that's my guy. Isak is my player of the season. Isak.
Great shout. And you, Wes, obviously we've got a shout in the chat for Chris Wood as
Oh,
well. So Wes, hit the floor. Who are you going with?
Woody from Toy Story, you know. I'm gonna probably go with Mo Salah. I think to consistently do what he's done this season, week in, week out, has been nothing short of phenomenal. And take into account his age, because it's around this time where players start to decline, and he's going the complete opposite direction. And it just feels like there's no signs of slowing down for him. Obviously, there are some comparisons between him and Heung-min Son, in the sense of Sonny's been travesty this season, but he's the same age as Mo Salah. Yet Salah's done, what he's done this year. So I think it's hard for me to kind of ignore that, because, like I say, it's one of those where I look at it and I go, listen, at 32, to still have that blistering pace as well and that burst of speed over short distances. Because obviously, as you get older, it's the first thing that goes really is your speed. So yeah, I've kind of got to give it to Mo Salah, in terms of Premier League Player of the Year. I think if he hasn't won it already, he probably will anyway. So yeah, I just think for what he's done this year at the age he's at, as well. I know he spoke about Arnie Slot just tweaking and adapting his role slightly, and then I think obviously everybody on the red side of Merseyside has benefited from that this year. So I'll go Mo Salah for me.
I was gonna say, now down the other end of the spectrum of young player of the season, Wes, who are you going for?
Oh, see, this one's got me. This one really has got me, because I don't particularly think there's really been like one out and out sort of like outstanding young-ish kind of player. It's kind of been those that I would argue, say, like 23 and upwards, that have
yeah.
really sort of done the business in the league. I'd have probably gone with Lewis Skelly, perhaps, but he needs to stay humble. And obviously we can't. And obviously we can't put an Arsenal player in there. Yeah. Now I'm thinking. I'll tell you what. I'll go with Ahmad Diallo. I'll
Oh,
go with
okay.
Ahmad Diallo. He's what, 22, so I think he probably just fits that young player criteria. But again, I think for me, coming into like a struggling side and trying to be that guy at one of the biggest clubs in the world as well at the same time, I think you have to kind of give him a little bit of credit for that, and what has been a disastrous season for United. But I think for me, he's probably the one that's come out with a lot of credit. I think he was a danger, he was a threat as well in the Europa League final. And so was Garnacho, similarly, I guess, when he came on. But I just feel like Ahmad's kind of taken on and kind of had that new lease of life since Amarin has come in. Again, I know he's been disrupted by injuries. I think you could probably make a case for every player near enough in the league in the same way. But yeah, I'll go with Ahmad on that one.
Nice shout, nice shout. Like I say, he was scaring me in that Europa League final. He just didn't have an end product really. But Nelson, who is your young player of the season?
Well, because you've added a stipulation, I can't go with Lewis Skelly, and the only other person that I could think of, and correct me if I'm wrong, you could use your Google to check it out. I'm going to go with Ryan Gravenberch. I think he fits the criteria for age, and I think his renaissance this season has been sensational. Look, he comes from the football academy that we love, me and Wes. He is Ajax bred and born, and just to see him flourish this season with Arne Slot coming in, give credit to Slot, man. He can see. I mean, we all knew he was a talent. And the fact that he's come in and just slotted right into that midfield with McAllister, and just like that pivot has just been beautiful, and he's just done the grit. He's done the dirty work, I think, and he's got the flair to go with it too. Like it's a bit of both, and I think that's what makes him a brilliant footballer. And his IQ, that he comes from Ajax, like you're just going to be the smartest kid there. Like everybody else is trying to get an A on a group project. They're trying to catch up with Gravenberch. He's that smart, like on the football pitch. So I think towards the tail end of the season, I think you could see that the performance has dipped. It happened with the whole team. But I think Wes would agree with me to say that he's been amazing. And it's just nice to see him flourish in the league because he struggled at Bayern a lot. And you're wondering why is a talent like that sitting on the bench, and he's coming at Liverpool and he's done great. So I'm very happy with that pick. Actually, I'm going to go with Ryan Gravenberch.
Say that was a good one. Like I say, Dylan's come in a little bit late. I've put a stipulation in now that we can't choose Spurs or Arsenal players, as we've done that at the start. But Archie Gray is a great shout. But let's move on to obviously underrated player of the year. Now, Nelson, I'm going to throw it straight back at you for this one. Your turn to go.
Oh, Holly, don't do that to me. Oh my gosh, there's a whole pool of players that we could talk about. Oh my goodness. I might have to refer back to my fantasy this season because I've had a lot of underrated players. I am going to go for, and I think his move to Man United speaks volumes, Mateus Cunha. I think the thing is, I don't know if he fits in that bracket, but I think he has been underrated this season just because he's played for Wolves. But Wes is looking at me, and I know Wes knows I know better than that. He knows I know better than that, Holly. I don't know if I could go for Cunha. You might have to come back to me.
We'll come back. That is, I did spree it on you, to be fair. So.
That's all right. That's all right.
Go on, Wes. You take the floor, and I'll go back to Nelson.
I've got a few names, so this might actually help Nelson out here. So I want to give a shout out to Daniel Munoz from Crystal Palace.
Great shout. Great shout.
I think I read a stat. I think he's played. I think it's something ridiculous, like 89 out of 90 games that he's been available for Crystal Palace, which is phenomenal. And I think anybody that watched the FA Cup final was like, mate, this geezer's like a Duracell battery. He just never stops. I want to give a shout out to Anthony Robinson from Fulham as well. I think he's had an outstanding season and arguably the best left back in the league this season. But there's two lads who have also won something this year, and have dovetailed each other so well. And when they play together, they are an absolute, like, football manager's dream midfield pairing. Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali.
What?
I'm going to throw them two in there for
underrated. You're getting mad at me for Cunha. These two are ballers.
Yeah, but they haven't got the record. The reason why I'm saying them two is I don't feel like they've had that, like, these guys deserve, or these guys should be playing for, like, I'm not trying to disregard Newcastle in any respect here, but like they deserve to be at the real elite end of European football. Like that's why I'm throwing those in there. But I think when you mentioned underrated, the first kind of name that came to my head was probably Daniel Munoz. So I'll pick that one. But I just wanted to throw a couple names out there, see if Nelson would change his mind on Cunha.
Okay.
Because I think like Cunha's been like Wolves' talisman, and I think when you speak about Wolves, you then kind of speak about Mateus Cunha in the next breath. Whereas obviously another reason why I said those two lads from Newcastle is, again, when you speak about Newcastle, you've got Isak first, and then probably those two after.
That's true. Okay, I've got two players then off the top of my head, and Wes, you probably could help me out here. One of them's from Bournemouth, and the other's from Villa.
Oh, it's getting a bit cold in here, isn't it?
From Bournemouth, I'm gonna go for Milos Kerkez.
Yeah, baller,
Because you mentioned left backs
baller.
and
Yeah.
Robertson has been sensational, but I think Kerkez has been absolutely out of this world, and I think he might get that move to Liverpool,
Yeah.
and I think he deserves it because he's just so dynamic and just like similar to Munoz, like runs for days. That's hard. We've had a good fullback season, I think, in the Premier League this year,
Mm.
and I mentioned the other one from Villa. I'm gonna go for Boubacar Kamara from Villa.
Ooh,
And
okay.
I think he is underrated for what Villa do. And I think he's done very well to replace Douglas Luiz, who's left last season. So I think I've got that one. Yeah, I don't know which
Yeah.
one to pick
Okay.
though. I'm gonna go for Camera, simply because Villa have got to Europe this season, and without him, I think he's one of the spines in midfield alongside Onana, who I know if we'd done signing in the season, I'm sure Wes would have probably gone for uh down the route potentially of Onana. Onana's been sensational as well, but Camera has been kind of like just that cog, that key cog, just silently just doing his business. Let Tielemans and Onana and everyone else in front of him shine. But I'm happy I've mentioned Kirkes because Bournemouth had a sensational season. So, but I'm going to go for Camera, Holly. Thank you for coming back to me. I'm happy that you come back to me.
No worries. I did spray it on you, to be fair. Boris just said Bergvall. Now, we did do Spurs and Arsenal at the start, and Wes did choose Bergvall. So don't worry, Boris. We are on the same wavelength. We're just opening the floor now, because on a Monday, all I talk about is Spurs, and I need to talk about something else. So it's quite nice having these two on to talk about something other than North London. But we're going to move on now. Nelson, do you want me to hit you with another question straight away, or do you want me to go to Wes first?
You are going for overrated, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Just put
Okay.
the whole United squad, Holly. The whole United squad are overrated, apart from Bruno. Bruno Fernandes is a great player, but our whole United squad seldom. We're talking about Mateus Delict. Me and Wes are suffering right now mentioning
Mm.
this, and you could put him in the overrated category. Like that's how bad United have been this season. Like they've been absolutely piss poor. Um, like I'm sorry, I like you're talking overrated. Like United have been absolutely rubbish, and the only person right now, I think he's had a down year, so I don't want people to call him overrated, which is Cole Palmer. He's had a down year, and I don't think he belongs in that category. But I can see people mentioning Cole Palmer. I'm just gonna draw out names out there. Oh my gosh, overrated. That's hard. Right now, the whole United squad helps me out right here because they've been really bad, especially Rasmus Højlund, who they've brought in, and he frustrates me because he just doesn't seem to know what to do on that football field. And United need a better striker if they're gonna, you know, change this whole era for Ruben Amorim. But he, for me, I think is overrated. After Wes has some names, I might come back and throw in some more. But right now, it's the whole United squad. Right now, they've been absolute piss poor. So that's my overrated. Go on, Wes, hit me with it.
Um, I've just realised, by the way, Nelson mentioning a Chelsea player for underrated and potentially young player of the year, Romeo Lavia. Oh
Ah,
my! How I've missed this guy out is a joke because genuinely, I mean, I've been going to watch football for probably 25 years out of my 30, near enough 30 years of existence. Romeo Lavia is probably one of the best midfielders I think I've ever seen live. Like he is a joke of a footballer live,
yeah,
and he deserves a shout out. Um, yeah, just technically just proficient and can literally do everything. Put it this way, he's that good. Enzo has to push Moises Caicedo, one of the record signings for Chelsea, to right back to get him in the team.
yeah.
So that kind of says it all. In terms of overrated this season, I'm going to go with
It's hard.
Omar Marmoush. Marmoush, just because I feel like, yeah, big outlay. We saw the numbers he was doing up at Frankfurt, and I just don't feel like he's been it in a City shirt as of yet. I know it's early days, so
Yeah.
feel free to clip this and come back to me in this time next year when he's balling out. But yeah, I put it this way: when you buy a player of like that ilk and with that reputation, and obviously yes, City have lost Haaland, but everybody's going like, right, Marmoush should be able to step in. And I don't think he's really done that. I know it's you're not going to replace Haaland like for like, but in terms of that like goals output, and I feel like Marmoush wasn't necessarily that player to necessarily replace Haaland or whatever. He was probably the Julian Alvarez replacement, but I don't feel like he's done it so far for me. Sounds harsh, but I'm going with Omar Marmoush only, and probably because he had an absolute stinker second half of the season, so absolutely screwed my fantasy team over. So
Yeah,
that's probably why. That's probably
I,
why.
yeah, I can see why you're bitter now. I can
Yeah.
see.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Omar Marmoush.
Cool.
Is
That's a
is
good
there
shout.
anyone else, Nelson, apart from the whole United squad?
Apart from the whole United squad, I can't think of anyone else right now. I think we've had a good league to think that the fact that we can't or struggling to come up with people that are overrated. I think suggests that it's been a good league this year, and I think the talent has shined through. It's hard. It's really hard. No, I haven't got any. I haven't got anyone else right now. Nah.
Right, I'm going to spring another question on you then. So,
Cool.
manager of the season. This one might be a little bit easier for you.
Manager of the season. There's a lot to choose from, if I'm being honest. Slot, you could say, because of the fact that he's come in first year, inherited the squad, and just gone boom, and has won the league with Liverpool. It's put Arteta and everyone else to shame. Then you've got Glasner for bringing Palace home there. And we've spoke about Palace because we thought they would kick on at the start of the season, but they disappointed us. But now they've got the FA Cup. So I feel like he has to be in that conversation. Where Wolves were with Gary O'Neill at the start of the season, and for Vita Pereira to bring them up,
Shout that is, by the way.
I think that is worthy of manager of the season credentials. I think because we thought Wolves were going down. We actually thought they were going down with Gary O'Neill, and Vita's come in and he's changed everything. Iraola at Bournemouth. There's so much to choose from. Eddie Howe. I'm look, South London. I'm gonna go for Oliver Glasner. Like I'm gonna go for him. He's brought like their first major trophy. Like you can't dismiss that. It's their first major trophy, and he's done it with Frankfurt, bringing them the Europa League. But I think the board respect him a lot, and I think there's a lot that he could actually bring to Palace in the next few years. And I think like we mentioned with your lot, if the investment is right, at the end of the day, like Palace could go somewhere like if Eze can see now, look, we're in the Europa League, we could potentially kick on from here. He might not have to leave. He could eclipse, Zaha's legacy because a lot of people will say that, Zaha's still the legend, but Eze is outright a Palace legend as well. But it's going to be Glasner for me. A lot to choose from. This is Wes's field, so I know he's going to have a headache right now. So what have you got, bro? What's your pick?
Mate, yes, Glasner was a shout. Pereira is definitely up there with a
Thank
shout of
you,
the
thank
season, by
you.
the way, because I was one of those Wolves were dead and buried. Moise, I think as well. I know
Yeah,
he's not been there that long, but again, job he's done, turnaround. Because for me, Everton were absolute toilet first half of the season, like under Dyche, mate. They were the worst team I've ever seen. Like,
yeah.
and I've seen Tottenham play some like lower league teams, and they put up more of a fight against Tottenham than Everton did earlier on in the season. I think Marco Silva is worth a mention as well at Fulham. I think he's done a brilliant job. I don't think anybody would have put Fulham towards that top part of their Nuno as well. I think from Forest. I think yeah, difficult,
It's
difficult,
difficult.
so hard. And you could throw in there for the Hove Trophy at Spurs. But yeah, I think my head's kind of telling me Arne Slot, to be honest.
Mm,
I think the job he done at Liverpool without really having to spend a lot of money. Yes, I know he inherited a good squad, but it's still on the aging side. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that at Liverpool. You've got a few players there that are hitting or just approaching that side of 30 or the wrong side of 30. And the job that he's done there, and we all anticipated a huge drop off from Klopp. The transition has been so seamless. It's like it's almost like Arne Slot's a videographer and he's cutting from like one scene to another. Do you know what I mean? It's like a movie director. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll have to go with Arne Slot, and it's a little bit gutting in the sense that obviously he was a manager that Spurs were really, really linked with and linked to, and we didn't get him. And I can obviously watching Liverpool this season, you can see why he was a manager that was well thought of at Tottenham in terms of the way he plays, but not only that, the way he conducts himself in interviews speaks unbelievably well. And I think
Yeah.
he manages to speak well and get his point across without the raw emotion for me that Klopp has.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Arne Slot,
Ooh,
manager of the year.
nice. No, I'm gonna relay it back to you now. So I'm thinking best atmosphere this season. What are your
Mm.
thoughts, Wes?
Well, that's going to be a bit tricky for me because obviously I've only been to Spurs games. Cool. Do you know what? Considering everything, I'm going to have to go with Spurs' last game of the season against Brighton because the football was irrelevant, but the atmosphere was probably the best that I've known it at the new stadium. It was absolutely phenomenal. Like I say, yes, the football was irrelevant, but yeah, for me that day it was just that special day. To be fair, the atmosphere at the live screening weren't half bad either, by the way. Considering we're watching it on the screens, there was people singing. Obviously on top of the screens on the pitch. So yeah, but I think yeah, I'm gonna go with that last game of the season because that I mean I wasn't there for the last game at White Hart Lane, unfortunately, but I feel like that would probably run it close in terms of atmosphere.
Mm. Definitely.
Wow.
I was gonna say definitely with the atmosphere that we've had this season as well, for that to be the best
Yeah,
one, kind of finish
yeah.
the season off. And it
I
doesn't
mean,
matter if we say Arsenal or Spurs in this one because
well, the thing for me,
Birmingham.
Holly, was we were getting absolutely tanked by Brighton, and everybody was just in, just a supportive mood. Like there was no booing. Like I've been to plenty of Spurs games this year where we've conceded or gone goals down or gone behind or whatever. And there was a lot of booing. So, yeah, I think that one has probably pulled on heartstrings a little bit. But I think that was a special atmosphere.
Mm.
Defo. Go on, Nelson. What's your best atmosphere of the season?
Um, if I'm talking from an Arsenal perspective, it will be the Champions League night against Real Madrid. Never seen anything like it. It reminded me of shades of 2011 Barcelona when Wenger was still in charge. Just having a top side like that come to the Emirates and you're the underdog, but you go out and give a performance like that. I think it's the best I've seen at the Emirates for a long time. However, I didn't think we were going to go based off like one game. So when Wes mentioned that, I was like, oh, okay. So if we're going like on a generic game that I still have goosebumps from watching clips from, is the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
That was sensational. And I just look at it and I'm just there. Like when Tarkowski scores that equalizer and the noise just like bang. And the Evertonians just go crazy. The Toffees are just going crazy. And my girlfriend's dad is a Everton supporter, so I know he'd be happy if I mentioned that one because it was a great kind of way to kind of close off, a wonderful history at Goodison Park. So that for me, when I still watch clips of that game, Holly, goosebumps. So for me, that is the best atmosphere I've seen all season. Yeah, throughout the season.
I'm surprised, Nelson, you didn't give a shout out to your South London friends for the FA Cup final atmosphere because that
Yeah.
from the Palace end, that was up there for me. Nelson, when you were speaking about obviously that Everton atmosphere, the one that came to mind then to me straight away after that was the Palace, the FA Cup final atmosphere. They were non-stop for 90 minutes, and I genuinely think that gave the Palace team on the pitch that little bit extra on the day. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that one as well.
No, defo good shouts. Like I say, both of those are giving me goosebumps. So no, defo good shouts. Wes, second to last question. We've got flop of the season. Who is your
Ah,
flop of the season?
listen, there's one name, Armando Broja. This guy, honestly, season long loan from Chelsea. was injured more than me, which is some going because I'm like I've got my own parking space outside of physio or the NHS, mate, at the hospital in Milton Keynes. Honestly, the amount I'm injured, had a total of 4 shots the whole season, and he did not score a goal.
Wow. Wowzers.
Bang! I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave that there for everyone.
Oh,
Jeez.
I don't think I can beat that, Ollie. That's insane. He's dropped bars and just left the mic to drop. Like that is actually I can't do that. I the transfers this season haven't been groundbreaking for me to remember who's flop of the season. That's hard. I really don't know. I really don't. I would probably agree with Wes because Armando's career has been very weird, and I think he's got the talent, but I just don't think it's kicked on. And I just think it's just been very disappointing. So um, I'm gonna agree with Wes. That is shocking. That is so bad. And I can't mention any names right now because that is so bad. That is so bad. He makes Raheem Sterling's season at Arsenal look sensational. That's, that's how that's how good Raheem's been for Arsenal. So yeah, that's a good shout, Wes. That's flop of the season for me.
Yeah, no, that is some mad numbers. But yeah, let's talk about the last one, which is goal of the season. Now, I'll let you two decide who wants to take the floor first.
I'll go
Oh,
first.
Um,
I'll go first. I'll go first. I'll go first because I thought about this one. I actually have thought about this one. We've had some great goals. But okay, we can mention all the names. Marmouche. We can that's the easy one to go for. 30 yards out, 35 yards out, comes in off the post, bang, great finish. However, I'm doing different now. I hate long range strikes, old school for me. Harry Wilson's goal against Brentford was
oh.
like if one of the top elite players in our league did that, we'd be hearing it for days. We'd be hearing it for days, weeks, whatever. Like whether like you just be hearing it non-stop throughout the season. For me, that is top two. Baleba's goal against West Ham to win it was also a great strike, but again, we're talking long range. So I'm gonna go for either Harry Wilson. I can't decide between Harry Wilson or oh my gosh, I just had it in my brain. I
You
just
said
had it in my
believer. You
brain.
said believer.
No, it wasn't Belieber. I had Harry Wilson and so there we go. Same team, Karu Matoma against Chelsea. Ball comes out from the sky, controls it, pluck, cuts inside and bends it in bottom left corner, keeper's side, bottom left. That is a sensational goal. Because again, if we're talking about someone else for the top six that has a touch like that, we're hearing about it for non-stop throughout the season. So those are my top two. I can't pick between the two. Wes could probably help me out. Maybe he thinks one of them is better than the other. But his reaction to Harry Wilson's goal means that I've hit a nerve there. A good one. A good one.
Because the thing was, I know exactly which. It's the flick, isn't it?
Yes, the flicks. The
Yeah.
flick.
Because the thing was, I was then going, well, which goal? Because he's got an absolute worldie against Brentford fairly recently as well.
That's so
So I'm
true.
there like Harry Wilson is like Brentford's owner or something. Yeah, goals. I want to mention Jared Bowen's goal against Nottingham Forest because similarly in the way that Nelson was describing Matoma's goal, like the touch is outrageous and he's kept it up and bang, top bracket. Yeah, sensational in the words of Chris Brown. Sensational. So yeah, that's because the thing is for me, I don't feel like I was trying to think of how many times Gary Neville's done his thing.
Right.
Yeah, how many O's we've got from Gary Neville this year, and I don't feel like we've had many. If we have, then it's been probably with regards to an Arsenal goal or a Tottenham goal or whatever. When we were thinking of goal lists, my first one that came to mind was Ethan Nwaneri's against City
Oh,
at the Emirates. I thought that was that bro Czechoslovakia literally. Like the dip on it and everything is just phenomenal. And the thing was, it shocked everybody in the stadium because of the state of the game and the time of
yeah.
it as well. But as we've gone, I'll go with Bowen's goal. I think against Forest. I think that was a good one. To be fair, Elanga's goal against United weren't half bad either.
It was
But
a good that solo goal. That was good.
yeah,
Holly, come on. You've heard us. Have you got a goal of the season? Maybe one that you remember.
Holly's thinking the Tottenham goal against AZ Alkmaar. To be honest,
Yeah, I do. You know what I'm like? I don't watch. Well, I say I don't watch football. I do watch football, but I've also got the brain of a sieve. I had to write down all these questions because I wouldn't remember them, let alone remember my goal of the season.
and bearing in
This
mind
is
we put all these questions in our group chat as well, ladies and gents. Just throwing that one out
yeah,
there.
because I'd forget them. So I still had to try and scroll to remember where we put them in the chat. So I am not going to give my goal of the season because A, I haven't done my homework, and B, I've got the memory of a sieve. So it's just best if we don't ask me. But I've had a very, very good time tonight, kind of asking you guys. The fact that when you've mentioned players, I've actually sat there and I'm like, I know who that is, man. So that makes me happy. It feels like I'm picking something up from you guys. You know what? I've had a great time tonight. But before we go, I'm not going to get the league table up. But we do need to do some honours because obviously our very, very lovely guest and co-host of this channel, Nelson, did become second in the Holly's Hotspurs League. So, Nelson, I'm going to let you take the floor and say how you've done it and that you're a mastermind at FPL.
Um, Look, after I finish what I say, I know Wes is going to say something. So, in regards to me finishing second and considering what I'm wearing today, you guys get the gist. But it was hard. I think I can't remember who finished top of the league, but he just ran away with it in the last few weeks, and I think my transfers weren't great. But it's all about just kind of staying in touch with making sure. I think we've given out a lot of tips this season, haven't we? Like making sure that you don't make the transfer until near the start of the game week, kind of keeping tabs on injuries and suspensions, and also kind of taking risks and getting players who you think can make that difference and catch up in terms of points, because there's a lot of people like, look, if I had bought Jared Bowen, if I had the balls to buy Jared Bowen after his performance against Ipswich, probably would have, I wouldn't say gotten close, but definitely would have won some other leagues that I was also in, and I finished second in them. So it's just all these slight little things that you know that people think, and I know Wes is thinking, I think Wes is gonna come back better next season. I think he's the one to watch out for, because I think he started off horribly. We all know that, but I think he's made up for it this season. I think he'd be happy with his team performance. But Holly, it's just all about, look, I'm addicted to fantasy. My girl can tell you about it. Like I'm addicted to it 24/7, and I'm there. I'm watching it. I'm seeing who's next. I'm watching the FPL show to see who's been brought in, who's been brought out, the scout selection, everything. So I just do a lot of research, and I follow a lot of TikTok and Twitter profiles of people who do FPL to see their suggestions as well. So that's how ingrained it's come a part of my life now. So yeah, I mean, second's not bad, but go on, Wes, say what you need to say about second.
Second again, ole
Uh,
ole. Second again, ole ole.
Oh dear, no, that's made it worth it. All these shows has made it worth it. We're saying second, a late. But no, I'm gonna try and do it. I say this, I won't, but I'm gonna try not to delete the app late on in the season and try and stick with it. But no, it will be good fun to do it next season. Obviously, we've got a lot of moves happening in the background as well, ready for a few shows over the summer with transfers and stuff. Maybe under a new name, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that one. But we're gonna go around the table, say our goodbyes. So once again, Wes, thank you so much for joining us all this season. Where can everybody find you do your thing?
Yeah, just a quick one on FPL. Listen, mate, I'm going to correct myself. I don't usually win things in my second season. I always win things in my second season, because it was my first year doing FPL this year. So I thought I'd throw
oh,
that one
that's
in there.
big.
Please feel free to clip that and make a meme of me in about a year's time when I finish bottom of every league next year. But no, thank you for having us as always this season. It has been fun, enjoyable, and all of that good stuff. But yeah, people can find me on Twitter at Wezo10, the unofficial Musa Dembele fan account. Probably will turn into an unofficial Kevin Danso fan account before 2025 is out, especially if he does actually sign on a permanent from Spurs. I think he will. So yeah, there's that for Twitter. Instagram is at Wezo32. Usually at a Spurs game, especially at home. Going to try and do a few more aways next year if I can, especially Burnley up the Clarets, and potentially I'm hoping if I can get a Derby Day ticket, but someone might have to plug me for that one. So yeah, that's where you'll usually find me doing my thing there. Obviously, anything football coaching related, Kofa MK or Kickoff Football Academy across all your socials. You'll find me here most Wednesdays. You'll find me on Park Lane podcast as well, on the majority of Sundays when I'm not at a Spurs game or I'm not working late. So yeah, Holly, I believe that is a wrap.
Whoa, let's
Bosh.
go. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Wes. And also, Nelson, it's been great to have you on this season. I can't wait for the future. Where can we find you doing your thing as well?
Thanks, Holly. It's been a wonderful season. You guys can find me on Instagram, ntumba25. So that's N, my last name, Tumba, and then 25 on Instagram. I think I'm going to become an unofficial Chloe Kelly account, is what I'm going to go for. I think Wes knows that already, how much I adore Chloe Kelly and how much vibe she brings to Arsenal Football Club. So, yeah, it's been a great season. So back at it again next time.
Yes, can't wait for it. And like I say, make sure everybody's subscribing. Everybody's past 8 o'clock now. My brain's gone to mush. Make sure everybody's subscribing and following us on all the socials so you keep up to date what's going on and what will be happening in the works in the next couple of weeks. Make sure you tune in for that. Like we always say, I always say this, even though Nelson's here. Until next time, I'll use Spurs.
How are you, Spurs?